I'm Manveen Rana, and I'm joined here by Elaine Rodrigo and Bastien Parizot of Reckitt. And we're also joined by BCG's Henry Leon. We're going to be delving into their partnership on implementing AI across Reckitt's global marketing teams. And we'll hear some insider tips and some key lessons for leaders who are trying to do the same. So, Bastien, starting with you, what sparked this transformation? I mean, what was the problem you were trying to solve?
So when you look at AI and GenAI, there's many things that can be done with it. I think it's going to raise the floor of office productivity with the likes of Copilot, for instance. We've seen fantastic consumer-facing apps being done with GenAI. What we wanted to focus on was the reinvention of our function. We saw our marketers, for instance, having a lot of cumbersome tasks on a day-to-day basis, very repetitive. We wanted to solve for that, to enable them to spend more time understanding the consumer, spend more time executing in markets, faster innovation, better decision making. And so that's how we started our transformation with AI and GenAI.
And that's why you started in marketing.
So marketing was started there for a few reasons. The first one is marketing is a function that is very used to embrace a lot of changes. We've seen a very resilient function. We also had a very reliable data set, a lot of machine learning, traditional AI usage as well, across audience, across media activation, across measurement, quite successfully. And so it became the natural place to start. So we tested a few pilots around GenAI. We looked at what the marketers were doing on a day-to-day basis, and that became the suite of solutions we built for them.
And Elaine, what sort of GenAI were you deploying?
Yeah, actually, so what we've built is we've actually built 3 suites of tools, right, around 3 groups of users within the organization. So the global category team, the in-market brand teams, and also the media teams. At the same time, we've also, within each of these suites, we have different types of tools. Tools that we call assistants, tools that we call monitors, and tools that are actually creation engines or creators. So to give you an example, within the global category tool, apart from category strategy type solutions, we've also created an insights generation assistant, and we've created a concept creator. We've also created brand performance or planning tools that the in-market marketers can use, and we've created media tools as well, which our media teams use to analyze campaigns early on and get insights and learnings for recommendations.
Wow. And Henry, when a company is about to launch into a process like this, how do you work out what you need to build?
Well, Reckitt came to us with this strong vision of re-injecting speed and agility to market and a desire for more efficiency and effectiveness. So about where to start, we actually really went into the granular detail of what marketeers do. We did detailed activity mapping, and we found 300 granular tasks at the greatest detail of workflows. And then we plotted that back up to find where could we use AI and GenAI to get the most out of the technology and really change the way that people work.
And what were the challenges you encountered as you began the process?
I think what started as a challenge, we later on realized turned out to be a competitive advantage, was actually data. Because obviously we started, I remember, Bastien and I, we've been on this journey and with Henry for 18 months or even more than that. But, really at the onset, after choosing the use cases that we were going to start with, which were productivity, innovation, and communications, then we had to say, what data do we have? What data do we have to train the models, right? And then you start off there. And then, as Bastien alluded to at the beginning, we quickly realized that within the insights and analytics group and within marketing, we had quite a number of proprietary data sets, large data sets that had been curated and collated over a number of years, which actually accounted to millions of different consumer data points. And that were actually also configured for machine learning and AI, etc., and all collected in a consistent way. So therefore, I think what turned out to be a challenge, or what we thought would be a challenge at the beginning, in the end ended up becoming a competitive advantage in terms of the proprietary data sets that we realized that we have and could actually use to train the models. And if I just give a specific example with the insights generation assistant, we started ingesting, I think, maybe 8 data sets at the beginning. And as of today, we are now ingesting in excess of 30 data sets. So the thing is, it builds as well. It builds over time.
And In terms of the competitive advantage you're seeing from that data now, I mean, how are you able to use it in a way that you weren't before? How has it helped?
Well, I think, first and foremost, no human is able to read 500 million consumer data points. So as much as we would desire to, and I think about, I've been doing this a long time, and, the days where you look across a number of reports and you have to pull this together, right? But the ability of the AI to actually detect patterns across all the different data sets and actually glean the insights. So firstly, to be able to use what we have and know what we have and get those insights and actually foresights as well, brings a certain level of not just efficiency, but also effectiveness in terms of, I guess, really using what we have right now to get the best insights.
And if I may, actually, getting that data has helped build a competitive advantage, not only the inputs themselves, but then how that's used. I think in a world where all these AI solutions will become commoditized, that everyone will use them, actually it's the organization, the availability of your data, and how that's then being applied to the workflows and the people, those outputs that will really create the differentiation.
And I think what Elaine said, which was a challenge and became a competitive advantage. Yeah. I think we say data all the time. We really need to specify that this is the beauty of large language models, where any piece of knowledge is becoming a data point. Yeah. And this is what Elaine was referring to in the 30 sources or plus. Those are PDF documents that were sitting in SharePoint for us that we for the first time actually combining together and becoming an insight for us. And that's really the opportunity that it became.
Well, so talk me through results. Talk me through the report card. I mean, how has this impacted your efficiency, how you've saved on time and cost too?
So really right from the get-go, we were very clear that our initiative is not just about efficiency. Obviously, everybody's on this journey and you always hear about efficiency being mentioned first. Of course, that's a given. But we were very clear from the beginning that we want to become better, that we want to become more effective. We want to become better at marketing, right? And actually build better marketers as well. So we set metrics right at the beginning, actually in collaboration with the business, with the P&L owners and the business stakeholders, which I also think is a very critical sort of point of success of our program, that everybody was kind of in this together from the beginning. And if you look at efficiency and effectiveness, let's maybe again thinking, since we've been talking about the insights and idea generation tool, we are now about 70% efficient when it comes to actually generating insights versus before. And on idea creation, we saw a 60% efficiency in terms of marketers developing concept boards or new innovation ideas, right, from scratch. And that's amazing. And in addition, what else? Well, the other thing as well is that what we see now a year on, so a year ago, when we did the pilot, we saw this 60% efficiency, right, in terms of developing the idea. And the first ideas from the pilot tested the same as the last 2 years of human-only generated ideas. So 60% efficiency to get the same result. But we were not going to rest with that. That's not good enough for us. We said we have to be more effective. So we kept pushing on. And I'm happy to say a year on, the ideas that are being tested now that are coming out of this are testing at 2 to 3 times better than what we used to get, than human-only. So it gives us some, I guess, cautious optimism that we're actually progressing in the right direction.
This was a real mandate from the business, as you say, Elaine. I remember the exco saying you have to get the quality at least same or better, preferably better, before we get any efficiency.
Well, Henry, that raises a really interesting question for companies who are looking to adopt AI for exactly this purpose for marketing. How do you measure success? It's not just efficiency. I love the idea of just being better, but what are the markers of success?
So having that clarity of overall objective is a really important place to start, that it wasn't only just about efficiency, it was also about effectiveness. And then how you go about measuring that and demonstrating the impact. So actually the activity mapping that was done provides a great baseline as comparing to a before and after. Like what does each of the solution change and is able to eliminate from the workflow, and that time is freed up and can be reallocated elsewhere. But also setting really clear quality effectiveness measures, whether that's using already existing external measures, like we're using with concepts and product innovation, or using peer-to-peer blind testing of the output. That's also really important because people won't use the solutions if they don't believe in the output. And that's why it's so important to make sure that that output is as good as, or if not better than, what they're doing today.
How is this new AI system in marketing, how is it impacting talent around the organization?
So we haven't so far talked so much about all the people, but the people are absolutely critical to this. At the end of the day, it's the users who have to adopt and use the solution. So the approach has been to involve people throughout the organization, from the XCOM and the objectives of the business to the users in the markets and the categories. And so actually they've been involved throughout the work and the development of the solutions in a very human, people-centric way, in involving them in the design of those solutions, and then the adoption and the rollout of them, sharing them with peers. So we have super users, champions in market, product owners in the technical teams, and then functional sponsors in the senior executive committee.
I think maybe to add to Henry's point here, the key is not about a new technology you need users to adopt. The key is a technology that enables users to embed into their day-to-day a new way of doing things. And so if you design with them, if you make sure the output is checked with them, then it's actually already part of the day-to-day, and you don't need so much talk about prompt engineering and all those sophisticated terms, because it's actually just changing the way they do things with solutions that have been designed with them for them.
Well, Bastien, you said at Reckitt you decided to start with marketing in order to sort of see how the concept worked effectively. Where do you go next?
So it is an enterprise approach for us, and this is why we wanted to go in depth in marketing, changing the way we work. So we're talking about profoundly changing end-to-end processes. So Elaine was talking about ID to innovation here. And so naturally it brings us to other functions like R&D, for instance. So we've been testing in parallel with very promising results, a couple of solutions in the world of R&D. And so we will go in depth at scale as well in R&D. The scale is very important for us, so we don't want to do everything across all of our function. We want to go in depth and at scale. So for marketing, we're talking about 500 marketers approximately as of today who are using the solutions. And so we want to deploy at scale where we do that in R&D. And as we do that, we unlock a lot of capabilities for the future where our platform maturity is going up, the upskilling throughout the organization is going up, and the data quality and the data maturity as well is going up.
Elaine, what advice would you give to other marketing leaders who are about to embark on this journey?
Yeah, my advice is that everybody embarks on GenAI thinking that maybe it's like a technical challenge, or actually that's what it is. But really, it is about change management, but it's about people. And I think it was Henry who actually said, so we've taken a specific people-first approach to this, right? You see mapping tasks, which is the task that actually marketers do, regardless of what role it is within the organization. And, that's the approach we've taken. So as we have scaled and deployed, so just as we built it and we took a people-first approach to building, as Henry mentioned, as we start scaling and deploying now and deploying it into the markets to hundreds and might I say at some point thousands of marketers, we've taken that same approach. So as Henry said, when we looked at when we looked at the tasks and identified which activities were kind of like the grunt work, as we were saying, that we wanted to free up people's time for, we actually also asked people which activities they enjoyed doing. And I thought that was a nice human touch to it, because the last thing on earth, firstly, you want to do is to create solutions to take away things people actually enjoy, right? And we wanted to make sure that and I think little things like that, as we've deployed it now, and I've seen it firsthand in Bastien as well, we've been kind of doing a little bit of a roadshow around, and I literally just got off the plane from Sydney a few days ago, right, as well, is that I think because we took that people-first approach, people are really engaged in the journey as well. And that's pleasantly surprised me in terms of how much the ABMs, BMs, the people on the ground, the young marketers have really embraced it and engaged with it. And it's not just qualitative, I guess, findings of what we see, but we have data. We're a very data measurement-based company. And we see 80 to 90% of them, after the workshops or the masterclasses where we deploy these tools through hands-on keyboards where people actually get into it, right? 80-90% of them are saying, I feel confident that I can use this in my day job. We're getting 9s and 10s out of 10 as well in terms of how people feel these solutions are. And, once again, that's the beginning. We measure adoption on an ongoing basis. So it's not just great workshop or whatever, but how much are people using it? And the beauty of it all is they give us constant feedback. They understand that the more they use it, the more feedback they give, the more we can actually improve the solutions because they're so intelligent. So, overall, I think my advice, as I said to people, is think of it always with people first, right? Rather than, and even with Bastien next to me, he did it as well. Tech second, people first. Then and then we did people first. Data, tech, obviously all important. But yes.
Henry, anything to add?
I was going to say, because at BCG we always say it's the 10, the 20, and the 70.
Yes.
Is the 10% is about the technology and the algorithms. The 20% is the data, and 70% of the effort is on the people. And I think it really is having that focus and that attention, because at the end of the day, it's these custom solutions that are being built for people to be put in people's hands and changes their day-to-day work. So I think it's testament to your focus, our collective focus on making that happen.
I would add, and again, as a technology leader, I would say this is not about the tech. What we found, and as a CPG, right, the core of our business is not about technology here. And what we found throughout the journey is really about understanding deeply our context and the tacit knowledge, so how our marketers are doing things and capturing that and putting that into a technology piece. It's about the data, so the unique data we can combine together that Elaine was mentioning. And it's around making sure the output is meaningful for the business. So if you want ideas and product concept, that's what it should be as an output. If you're doing brand performance reviews every single week, how do we make sure we deliver a solution that provides that to the brand managers as well? So this is really the learning here. Instead of talking about all of the tech platforms and agentic AI and all of this, it's really about understanding deeply our processes, our job as a marketer, and making sure you codify that into the platform.
Elaine, you were saying earlier that you've just got off a flight from Australia. Just give us a sense of how you make this a global enterprise. How do you spread the change?
Yes. So as rightly as you said, we started off thinking of this as it is a global initiative, but very much driven from the ground up, right? And the way we've deployed it, we've done it exactly the same way. So Bastien, myself, and our teams as well, we've been on a bit of a roadshow, I guess, over the last few months, starting with the US around February, and then rolling it out to the UK, the global teams, and then you heard Australia, Canada as well, and we have many more markets across Europe, and then we're going to take it to emerging markets, and we aim to really cover all marketers across the globe by, hopefully by sometime next year, is our plan. So definitely, even though as you said it's a global initiative, and we did that because we wanted one solution, because part of this was also about how you drive consistency within the organization and the op model, but very much tailored as well for going to the market to how we're actually going to be able to drive it in market with the local marketers.
Quite the double act. I can see how that works. Bastien, for you, what do you see as the future of GenAI, both at Reckitt but also sort of across the industry? How do you see it developing?
So I think we will hear this week a lot about agentic AI. I actually think this is not tomorrow. I think what I said was it's about scale. It's about the application for your business. And so I think we went from talking about models to talk about workflows now. And we went through applications. And so I really think for us, if I say the short-term future or the medium-term future is about mastering our workflows through AI and GenAI combined all together. And then this will set us up for success with fully autonomous agentic AI when it comes. So I think the midterm future in the next year and a half to 2 years is still doing what we've been doing, learning about scaling it, because it takes a lot in the technology side as well, and applying that to all function. It might sound much more boring than agentic AI, but I truly believe this is the next 2 years for us.
Henry, how do you see the role of the marketer evolving?
I've been in marketing for 20 years now, and with what we've built together, I get goosebumps. The way it changes the work that gets done and allows the marketeer to shift their time to higher value tasks, to think more about the consumer, to think more about driving their business, to think more about better innovation is incredible. So I think we're in a moment of the future now, and there's enough to be done, in my opinion, right now.
Elaine?
what has really impressed me over the last, especially 12 months, is the way that now it's the conversation around GenAI is starting to scale, to move into scaling and deployment and embedding within business operating models, but also how people are starting to really embrace it. And I think people are realizing now the importance of the human in the loop still, and that's the thing that actually makes the big difference, and that's the thing that actually brings the true magic. And my hope is, I think that actually, GenAI and AI is really going to help us all become almost better versions of ourselves, right? And become better marketers in the future. So I'm optimistic about that.
I can't imagine a better place to leave it. Great note of optimism right at the end. Well, thank you all for joining us here in Cannes, with and without the lights. It's been such a pleasure to chat. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.